What is up, guys? It is the sports nerd Bradley Walker, and welcome to the Walker Report, part of NGSC Sports. Guys, remember the website, it's ngscsports.com for all your current sports content. We are also part of Mancini Media, the Snowball Sports Network. We are part of the Game Winner Sports Network and the Sports Alliance of America Incorporated. Welcome in, guys. Happy Thursday to you guys. The first Thursday of the second month of the year in February. Guys, if you are looking at the live feed, you can see that I have a lot of facial hair. I'm getting my first straight shave on Sunday, so I'm growing it out to catch the experience of a straight shave. So I am this will not be here next week. I will be attending, guys, my first USF softball game this Saturday afternoon. I have a game to go cover Saturday afternoon. I'm really looking forward to that as a media member. We have two sponsors on the program, guys. We have creatingzenspaces.com. It is the local choice in St. Petersburg, Florida, for house cleaning, organization, decluttering, and pet sitting. It's about finding the peace within you and adding comfort to your life. And guys, remember, Zen Spaces begins with you. Be kind to yourself and one another. We are also sponsored by fun-wags.com. More from a near tragedy when a mascot had a bad reaction from a store brand treat. We are fueled to succeed with treats made from 3 to 5 ingredients you can pronounce. The Funline mascots invite you to try fun-wags.com because our fur babies deserve the best. Head over to fun-wags.com to try out those treats. Welcome in, guys. And before I come on here, Gerald will not be on this evening. I think he's having issues with his voice, so I hope he gets better soon. But I have two of my great co-hosts, Lou and Adam. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Guys, I am downstairs at the desk, hoping that the show does not cut out midway through with the vocals. So we're trying it. Yeah. We're trying it. But how are you guys doing?
I think I'm lopsided.
Lopsided? Okay.
I thought I was going to
just.
Yeah, this facial hair is killing me, dude. I'm not used to growing my facial hair out, but I'm getting a straight shave on Sunday, so I want to get the whole experience. So
there you go. There we go. That's better. I'm no longer lopsided. I was like,
yeah, I just
and I couldn't sit here. I couldn't sit here for 2 hours all lopsided and shit.
Right. Yeah. That'd be awkward.
Yeah, that would be awkward.
Yes.
Yeah, it was gonna sit there and dry hump my last nerve, so I had to make an adjustment.
Alrighty then. Okay. Well, with that in mind, where do you guys want to start? I mean, I know we are a week away from Daytona.
We're
Daytona 500. I saw something today, but I read an article today, Tony Stewart, that he hopes to. Devin, what's going on, buddy? He hopes to have a better season than the last two for Stewart Haas. That's
you know, the last two seasons have been pretty miserable over there at Stewart Haas. You know, and I think it's like one of my favorite NASCAR YouTubers, Eric Eastup. He does Out of the Groove. That's his show. Highly recommend it. Love the show. Think he's great. If you're a NASCAR fan, you want daily NASCAR updates, it's the place to go. But you know, at the end of the day, Tony's a figurehead, right? And he doesn't have his finger, and maybe he should. You know, maybe he should have his finger more on the pulse of what's going on in the shop on the day to day. But you know, when you're an owner, right? The whole point of being the owner is to hire people to do all the stuff that you don't want to do all that boring shit, and then be at the racetrack on Sunday and collect a check and kiss the pretty girl. And you know, but when you're the owner, the first person that gets blamed, no matter how hard you're working, no matter who you have in any role, and it's any sport. It's not just NASCAR, but it's any sport. When the first guy that gets blamed is the head guy, right? It's his fault because he's the one that's making the business decisions. He's the one that's not putting people in place to make those decisions and get them right. And when it comes to a guy like Tony, he's expected, and he's been outspoken, he's brash, he's bold. He has that bravado. He doesn't mince words. He's always been a focal point for the team. And when you're struggling, the first person that gets blamed is the guy with the biggest mouth. And you don't get to be the mouth and not have to deal with the consequences of the dildo of consequence rarely arrives lubed.
Right.
And it's something that I preach on a week to week basis. That no matter how good it's going, you've got to keep adjusting. In 2021, they were very good. In 2020, and from 2019 to 2021, they were very good, very competitive, winning races, leading laps, running up front across all of the tracks that we run at on any given Sunday. And after we came out of the pandemic and we got in, and everybody else caught up to them, and they didn't adjust, they didn't continue to grow. And now you're behind everybody, and what was working before isn't working now. When everybody was on the same playing field, when everybody couldn't get their hands around the new car in 2021, and everybody was struggling, and then it was a crapshoot week to week. You didn't know who was going to have a good car. No practice, limited practice, limited qualifying. Field set by points, and you showed up on Sunday, and you might get a 20-minute practice session, and you show up on Saturday afternoon, you get a 20-minute practice session, you make some minor adjustments, you do qualifying, and you race on Sunday, and that's what you got. They weren't unloading fast. And as much as there's no one person to blame because it's a team sport, and unlike an individual sport like tennis or golf, where, the only person to blame is, well, of course, the club, because I'm not a bad golfer, it's the club. When it's a team sport, when it's any other team sport, it's everybody makes mistakes. It's a zig when you should have zagged. It's getting caught back in traffic and getting wrecked. It's a bad pit call. It's a blown motor. It's running over. It's getting caught up in somebody else's mess. And when that happens, everybody points fingers. And what you have to do is it's got to be external people pointing fingers. If it's people outside the organization pointing fingers, you can weather that storm. You get caught up in somebody else's mess, and you make the wrong call on a late race restart. And you pit when you shouldn't have stayed out. You stay out when you should have pitted. It's guessing and gambling. It's hey, the car's feeling good. We're not going to make any adjustments. And you go back out there, and it's a bad set of tires, and you go from running up front to running 25th, and you can't get it back, and you finish 18th.
Right.
You can weather those problems. You can weather a car being bad off the truck. When the accusations are external, when it's the media, when it's the fans, when it's people who aren't in the organization. Now, and the problem is when it's people inside the organization, and everybody's blaming everybody else, and nobody's taking responsibility, and nobody's taking charge. And I think that's the biggest problem at Stewart Haas right now is nobody wants to take charge and be responsible for what has been the problems over the last 2 years is their inability to adapt to the new car. The rest of the field has gotten their hands around this new car, embraced the new car, embraced the fact that it's a single source supplier. Everything is you get your bodies from Ford, or are they a Ford team? I believe they're still a Ford team. They might have gone back to split it up. But they're are they a Toyota team? No, they're a Ford team. Yeah, they're a Ford team. They get all their stuff they get the bodies from Ford, they get their parts from the single source, and they just haven't wrapped their arms around it. And I don't know what the right answer is there. Obviously, I'm not in the organization, and we're at the beginning of a new season, and the hope springs eternal in February. Yeah, everybody goes down to Daytona with dreams of hoisting the big trophy, and then the season starts next week in Phoenix. I think they're in Phoenix. The week after. The week after. Only technically.
You're not going to count the Los Angeles race?
It's an exhibition race. No points were paid. It only pays money. So,
Okay.
and Daytona is a crapshoot. We do, every year we go to Daytona. Doesn't matter whether it's the Daytona race, whether it's the February race or the summer race. Daytona's a crapshoot. It's a roll of the dice. You can you go out Wednesday evening. You can turn a bad fast lap, put her on the pole, and go into 3 on lap 1 and get wadded up and be done. You can spend the next 199 sitting in the hauler, wishing that you hadn't run up front. You hadn't started up front. You've been one of the you had an opportunity to get out of it. So Daytona is a crapshoot. We won't until we get into the meat of the schedule. Until we get away from Daytona and we get to I think Phoenix is race 2 this year, or Vegas. I know Vegas and Phoenix, the West Coast swing early in the year. But
right.
So it's still early. I mean, it's so early we haven't even started yet. And Tony's got questions to answer.
Can I say something real funny, bud? Remember how?
Yeah, go ahead.
Remember I told the weather. Every time I want to go to a race or I watch a race, it rains, right? Do you want to know what it's supposed to do on the day of Daytona? It's supposed to rain.
Is it supposed to rain? I figured as much. They moved the.
Let's say you came down here. I'm like, it's gonna rain. It is a foregone conclusion. And let me see if I can pull up weather.com right now.
Well, you're looking
and see if anything's changed.
Well, you're looking that up. They moved up. They moved up the Clash to last Saturday night because of rain on Sunday. California, Southern Cal got hammered Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. They got like 4.5 inches of rain in 12 hours. It's ridiculous.
You can say that again.
It's ridiculous.
Sunday the 18th.
You're welcome.
The high is 65. There's a 58% chance of rain on
That's
Sunday.
pretty high.
60% chance of rain both Sunday during the day and at night. So that means that if we were going to plan on going to the race once again,
it's probably going to get rained out.
I'm telling you, dude, I'm cursed.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, at least we're not. So you know what? If we had planned on going, it's a 60% chance of rain, and we'd be socked in. Not a chance. Not a chance. We go down to the track because maybe the rain will let up, and it would never let up. It would sprinkle the whole time until we got out of the car to walk on the track, just so we could get soaked.
Just like it did in Charlotte.
Exactly. But because we're not there, not a drop. It'll be overcast. It'll be cool. It might be miserable to a South Floridian. It might be cold for a South Floridian, but it'll be raceable. They'll be able to get the race in because we're not there. If we had made plans, I was flying down to Tampa on Saturday. We'd go down to Daytona on Sunday morning, and and it would rain. The minute we got down to Daytona, the sky would open up and it would rain.
Yep.
And then we leave and head back to your place on Sunday evening, and it would clear up.
No
Just about the time they called the race.
Yep. Yep.
And we decided to call it and head back home.
Just like we did in Charlotte. You know, we got there,
Just like
we got soaked. We went inside the track. We sat there for a little while, and I remember you looking at me going, once the Indianapolis 500 is over, we're going back. I'm like, all right, good. Because I was so cold, and I'm like, okay, all right, fair enough. We can do that. You know?
I'm standing there, and we're standing there, and it's raining, and we're watching the end of it. And it's gorgeous in Indy, of course.
Yep.
Not a cloud in the sky. No, it's 60 to 75 degrees. Just beautiful. Just beautiful. Great race. And Charlotte, just not a drop. Not a shot.
It rained as soon as I touched down in North Carolina. It rained from the time I got off the airplane to the time I left. When I got back on the airplane and flew to
it didn't quit raining.
It stopped raining.
It didn't quit raining. It didn't quit raining in Charlotte until I was about an hour and a half outside of Charlotte. Too late to go back.
Yeah.
What a miserable weekend.
So I'm just now. I know what we're a week away from Daytona, and again, the weather can change 10,000 times before that. But right now, they're predicting a 60% chance rain in Daytona Beach on 500 Sunday. So I don't know. That could change. By the time we get there, it could be 75 degrees and no rain. And like you said, if we were going, it would be pouring down rain. We don't go, and it's overcast all day, and it doesn't rain a drop. They get the racing.
Yep.
So that's
and if we had taken that precaution of taking Tuesday off so that we could go Monday, and, in case knowing what we know now, we need to take Tuesday off so that we can cover our bases and be good. It would rain all day Monday.
Probably. Let me check and see what Monday's supposed to be like in Daytona.
Rain.
All right, let's see. Oh yeah, Monday, 60% chance of rain.
What's Tuesday?
Rain all the way till Tuesday. Wednesday, it's supposed to clear up. And it's
what year?
5:52. So it's like, yep. So there you go.
Yep. And that's about the size of it. We prep for Tuesday. Oh, hey, we'll if they try to get it in, they get it in on Tuesday. If they get it, we'll take Tuesday out so they don't get it in on Monday. Or if they don't get it in on Sunday, we can still go on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
It'll just be wet enough that they can't race. It'll stay wet enough that they can't race.
Yep.
That's awful.
Speaking of racing in the rain, they had some RFK was at Bristol this week to do some testing of rain tires for the flat tracks for the future. So the theory is that they would be able to race in damp conditions. They won't be able to race in a downpour, in steady rain. But they'll be able to get the cars back out on the track a lot faster. They'll be able to blow the water off the track, blow the standing water off the track, and just get a groove dry, and they won't have to spend 3 hours drying the whole track. So if a race is scheduled at 3:00 and it starts raining at noon and doesn't quit until 2:45, they won't have to spend 3 hours drying the track to get the race in. They'll be able to spend like an hour and a half and then throw the green flag under damp conditions and let the cars go out there and finish drying the track with any luck if it works out. And the problem, the concern I have is they only sent 3 cars up there this past week. I think it was Tuesday. They were out on track, and we've seen NASCAR have trouble in the rain at COTA in 21 or 22. And the problem is when you have 38 cars out there in a bowl, I don't know if they're going to be able to. I don't know how quickly the water will dissipate, where they can go out there and actually race, and it won't just be the most god awful, nastiest rooster tails you've ever seen in your entire life. And so it'll be interesting if they can figure out a way to get it done. Because that'll open up. That'll be interesting for like strategy.
Do you think there'll ever be a day where they'll be able to race in the rain? Because I know F1 and Indy do. Do you think that there's a chance that they'll have to make some tire that'll be able to hold a car that heavy?
No.
Yep. Okay.
It's not about the tire. It's about the rain. Because what my concern with racing in the rain is the rooster tails and visibility. And if you pack a 3,500-pound stock car down into turn 1 at Charlotte at 170 miles an hour and it grits, okay, great. If it sticks, cool. You've got grip. But you didn't see the guy in front of you who checked up and rolled out of the throttle a heartbeat earlier than you did. And you take him out, and you wipe out half a dozen cars behind you, and it's a junkyard. And that's a recipe to get somebody hurt or killed. Actually racing in the rain, no, because it's just too dangerous. There's just no sense in getting somebody hurt or killed to try and get a race in. We'll just run them tomorrow, or we'll run them later. It's not worth it. And if I wouldn't go out on track. You got to be out of your damn mind. You can hang that shit. I'll walk away, not a problem. I'll go work. I'll do TV work, whatever. Because I won't race in the rain. Not in steady rain. Not at an oval. No way. Now at a road course where there isn't the high speeds and the danger of going down into a corner blind or blinded, yeah, we're racing the rain as long as it's not a torrential downpour. Yeah, we can race in the rain like they do in F1 and Indy. But if you go back and you watch the 21 or 22 COTA race when they tried to run in the rain, and the rooster tails was just so god awful. That's the for those who don't know, a rooster tail is the spray that comes off the rear tires when they kick up the standing water on the track. That makes it just too dangerous to get out there and actually race and try and have a race. And so for me, as a fan of the drivers, the drivers being the most important part of a race, it's not safe to put them out on the track and have somebody get hurt or killed, or worse, expelled.
No, I agree. I was curious that, like I said, I know F1 and Indy, they do. I don't think they race in downpours. I think they race in if it's sprinkling, okay. But I mean, I think back every time I think back of rain, but I think back to the movie Drive, the one about that you like, the IndyCar movie. Yeah. They raced in the rain. That last race in Japan was in the rain.
No, that's Rush.
That's right. Okay. Which one was it with with the 2 IndyCar.
Niki Lauda.
Yeah.
Oh, drives. So Niki Lauda and James Hunt. That's Rush with Liam Hemsworth and that's Rush. Drive was an IndyCar movie from the late '90s.
Okay. Yeah, Niki Lauda said that he wasn't going to race because he felt it was too dangerous to race in the rain. But James Hunt had to win the race or not finish below second or something to get enough points to the championship that year. Yeah.
Yep. And Nicky pulled over and parked it. Yep. And James went on to win the race and rode off into the sun. He was happy. He was content. He went and did TV stuff. And Nicky won 3 titles after that. You know, what a great movie. It's a Ferrari. It's a shitbox. It's a shitbox Ferrari.
Yep. And now now Hamilton in F1 races Ferraris now. So there you go.
Next year.
Oh, next year?
Next year. Yep. Next year. He's got one more year with. He's got a lame duck year with Mercedes, which is going to be awful.
Yeah.
It's going to suck because it's like anytime you know, and motorsports is weird like that though. In other sports, you don't know that a guy is going to leave. You might know a guy's retiring, so you play harder, right? You try to pick him up. You want to put out your best performance in his last year. Send him out on top if you can, right? But when in motorsports, you'll have a guy sign a contract with another team in 2025, and it's like, you know, you just show up to do your job and go home.
Ha ha
ha.
Thanks, Joe.
All you gotta do is cut me off.
No, I mean, that's why I asked your opinion, Bud, because I wanted to get. I guess I read the article earlier today. I was prepping for the show, and I had some time at work today to get articles up, and I happened to, you know, NASCAR. A lot of the NASCAR stuff is talking about previewing for Daytona, which we know is and you know, I was reading about that too. But the Tony the Haas racing thing I wanted to bring up because I know Tony was a racer, he was a competitor. Like Tony was, you know, hardcore in your face, knock you on your ass type NASCAR driver. That's the way he was. And it's surprising to me as an owner that he's not that same way. And obviously, like you said, they've had 2, you know, shitty years, and now they're trying to figure out how to put the pieces back together to have a better 2024. And like you said, what it was with it, they haven't been able to adjust to the new car, right? Is that what you were saying? What? That
is part of it, I think. There's been some moving pieces over there at Stewart Haas over the last couple of years. Drivers leaving, you know, bringing in some new talent, trying to make things work. I didn't see. What did that say? It just flashed up. Was that Gerald again?
He wore out taking care of his wife. I know. Like I said, we get her to death because she's always been a great fan of our show. So yes, hopefully she feels better soon, Gerald.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Get some rest. You know, we do miss you, bud, but you know, if you're not 100%, we understand and hope that
we'll see you next week.
Yep. Speaking of weeks, guys, I have Jeff Barnes, our NFL draft guy, coming on the next couple weeks so we can talk some draft.
Okay, cool. Sounds good.
Super Bowl will be over, so the next focus then will be on the draft. Even though I know it's February, the draft's not till late April. He wanted to come on and talk. I actually messaged him the other day on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and he on LinkedIn, and he wants to come back on the next couple weeks, so we can talk.
Sounds good.
The next couple weeks. Yeah, Gerald. I mean, if you can't get on, buddy, next week, that's fine. If you need to take a couple weeks off to get you and your missus better, that's fine too. Like I said, we're not going away, and we're not keeping.
We'll keep the chair warm for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep the seat warm for you till you come. Till you're ready to come back.
Yeah.
We'll keep the seat warm for you and the mic hot.
Correct. Yep. Absolutely.
Just to close out on Tony Stewart, and what you were saying about him being a hard charging, no nonsense, take no prisoners kind of driver. Yeah, that works when you're just the driver, but when you're in boardroom meetings, I want to step back a little bit from what I was saying earlier and kind of expand the picture here. Is that Tony Stewart isn't a day-to-day shop guy. He's not down there tinkering on the cars. He hired the people he thought would be best to do the jobs and put them in place and give them the tools to succeed. He's got press commitments. He's got media commitments. He's got sponsor commitments. He's the, as much as he's the figurehead, he shows up at the track. As much as he's a figurehead for the brand, as much as he's a brand ambassador for Stewart-Haas Racing, he's the money guy. He was the one that brought the money in. He's the one that makes the deals. He signs, he might sign everybody's check, but that's what he does. He signs the check at the end of the day. And so as much as he might want to be down at the shop every week, as much as he might want to be more involved with the day-to-day, everyday running of Stewart-Haas Racing, he has everything else that being in charge entails. And part of the benefit of being in charge is getting to tell other people what to do, and then jetting off to the Caymans and hanging out with your girlfriend, or I think he's married now, hanging out with your wife for the weekend and not having to worry about it because you said. And then I don't want to cast aspersions on Tony Stewart. I don't know the man. I don't know his schedule. I don't know what he's like to be around in the shop on Monday, on Tuesday. I don't know what his role at Stewart-Haas is. But you can only micromanage so far, and then you're a burden to the team. We've seen it in every sport. Every fan base has a horror story about a GM who micromanages the team or an owner. Sorry, there's something in my throat there. And as much as you might want the owner to take responsibility for what's happened,
yes,
he can only control what he can control. It's not his fault. It's not his fault if they miss the setup and they get mired in traffic and have to try and work on it for 250 laps to get it right, and they finally get it right and they get wiped out in somebody else's mess because some yabo, some back marker, some field filler is decided to stay out on a pit cycle to try and get up front and get a caution and they'll catch another caution because, as we know, cautions breed cautions. He's trying to catch a break and he's got 25 or 30 lap older tires than everybody, and he just gets run over and wads up half the field going down into one on a restart. That's not Tony's fault. It's not anybody. That's the yabo in the 51 car, in a car that in a 15 car, in a Rick Ware racing car that has no business being out there in the first place because he doesn't care because he's just getting paid.
Right.
And I'm not.
That makes sense. I also, Bud, read too about Dale Jr. Is he renewing his contract to be an analyst? I did read about that too. I don't know what's going on with that. Is that
right?
Or is he just going to do his show from the back of his shop? Or that'd be interesting not to have him in racing at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As of right now, he doesn't have a contract with NBC. And I don't know if he doesn't have a contract with NBC for 2024 or if he doesn't have a contract with them for next year. There's a new media deal starting in 2025, and there's some big people coming in. They got CW coming in, Amazon's coming on board, Turner Broadcasting is getting back involved. HBO is going to be broadcasting some races. And so we really don't know what's going to happen with the future. And we still have 6 months until the NBC gets the broadcasting rights back. So there's still time for them to work out a deal. As of right now, he doesn't have a contract for the way I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Would I be shocked if they didn't bring him back? No. Would I be shocked if they signed him to a long-term deal? No.
No.
Would I be shocked if they signed him to a 6-month deal?
Hell no.
No, I wouldn't be surprised at all if he only wants a 6-month contract. If he wants to be done on January 1st, if he wants to be out of it, and I don't know what kind of money he's looking for. I don't know what kind of commitment he's looking for outside of the NASCAR stuff. If he wants to do more IndyCar stuff, if he wants to do more of the lost track stuff, I don't know what he's looking. I don't know if he's just happy doing his podcast every day, because that shit's amazing. If you've never watched the Dale Jr. download, that shit's amazing. He's a great storyteller. He's a great interviewer.
Yep.
He's a great interviewer. I'm so glad they got rid of that Mike guy. They let him go. They moved on from him. And I'm so excited to see Dale Jr. just have one-on-one interviews with these guys and not have to worry about that Putz Mike. I don't remember his last name now. That Putz Mike being in the studio asking dumbass questions and interrupting the flow. Because Dale Jr., when Dale Jr. gets somebody one-on-one, whether it be guys like Mark Martin, it could be Mark Martin, or it could be Richard Childress, whether they're talking about his dad, or they're talking about him, or they're just talking about old stories, or just swapping stories. It's great. It's great fun. It's very enlightening. Because you got Andy Petrie. It doesn't whether it's an old driver, an old owner, a current owner. Because he's had Rick on, he's had Hendrick on the show a couple of times. He's had, obviously Richard still has a team. He's had, he had Andy Petrie on, and him and Petrie talked Dale stories. He talked about the time that they went to Talladega together and let Petrie drive the car for some reason. That's a terrifying thought. And it's all great fun. I love watching his stuff. Whether it be a clip on TikTok or a full episode on YouTube, that's the old guy that flips through the channels and will stop halfway through a movie because he's seen it a dozen times and he knows exactly what's going on, and he'll sit and watch it till the next commercial break before he continues to surf. That's how I am with the Dale Jr. download. If I'm scrolling TikTok and I see a Dale Jr. download, whether it's somebody doing one of those Subway Surfer videos over top of it, or if it's actually a Dirty Mo Media clip, I stop and watch every time because it's so good. I could go on an hour about just how much I adore the Dale Jr. download. Yeah, you better cut me off because I've had one too many already.
That's fine, boy. That's fine. The NHL is back from the All-Star break. I did read, guys, that it looks like to me that the Coyotes are going to stay in Arizona. They're not leaving Arizona.
They're still in Arizona, but they're moving to Phoenix.
Yes.
Are they moving back to Phoenix?
Because that area is an all-out dumpster fire. Thank you, Trevor Phil.
Well, that's not fair. It's a college arena.
That's the problem. They only can fill about 5,000 people. You're not getting.
Yeah, well, they only average 25 anyway. So not 25,000, not 2,500, 25.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
wow. Shout out Coyotes on the podcast. Anybody from Arizona watching now?
You send your hate mail to me. Send your hate mail to me.
Yes.
I'll get in the. We hate the Coyotes. No, we don't hate the Coyotes.
You can send your angry tweets to my Twitter. That's fine. Your angry tweet will be. Your angry tweet is very important to us. It will be responded to in the order that it was received.
I'll get to it when I get to it.
That's when
I get to it. Yeah.
I'll get back to Arizona. I'll get back to the angry Arizona fans' tweets as soon as the Leafs win a cup.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Let's put it this way.
Shout out Toronto too. Shout out to Toronto.
Toronto's got to be kicked. I'd say Toronto was kicking straight, but that'd be Chicago.
Oh, well, Chicago's got the worst record in all of hockey right now, so they're years. I think they're years away from a Stanley Cup.
I think once Bedard comes back, and they settle down, and they clean out, the scandal kind of fades into the ether and becomes background noise, and people start, give it 3 years, and they can build around Bedard. He's got so much talent. He's what, 18? So he hasn't even hit puberty yet. So when they actually fit him for a jackstrap, they'll be all right. 2-3 years down the road, and they'll be able to, if they can start building, and they can get some winning, they can find a veteran goalie, they can stand on his head for a couple of years and steal some wins for them, and they can make some noise in the Western Conference in the next couple of years. Look at what Yzerman did in Detroit. He gets there in the middle of the he gets there, and okay, we're gonna rebuild. Let's see what you got. And they hang on to the one bozo whose name I don't remember now because he was a bozo, obviously. And of course, the pandemic happens, and it throws a monkey wrench in the rebuild. And then we come out of the pandemic, and 2021 is still kind of weird. And then 2022 was a better year. 2022-23 was a better year. And then 23-24 has been an even better year than 22-23. If you're in Chicago, just trust the process. I know it's painful. I know it's not an easy ride, but if management is competent, and I would think that they are, and they let the hockey people do hockey stuff, they'll be in the mix in a couple of years. There'll be some veterans on the loose. Stamkos will be available in the off season. If they can lure him away, it's a veteran presence. If they can go find a young goalie who can stabilize their goaltending, and they get a top 5, top 6 defenseman. If they get a top 4 defenseman on that first pair, and they can get some and developing in the minor leagues, they can it can be a fairly quick turnaround with an all-star like with a superstar like Bernard, and it can quickly go from the basement to the penthouse if they play their cards right, because they do have a superstar in Bernard, and they'll be able to draft in the top, and they're going to draft again in the top 5, top 10 this year. If not they'll draft in the top 5, top 10, depending on how the balls fall, which is the stupidest shit in the world. They're going to be better than something batty. And so I see that the winds of fortune favor the bold, and so if they take a couple of big swings at it over the next 2 to 3 years, then the Blackhawks can very easily be contenders, because the Lightning are aging out, the Avalanche are going to age out, the Vegas is going to age out. They're going to go into a slump, and the best teams always come back to the pack. And as those teams come back, new teams emerge, and I don't see why it can't be a young, hungry, talented Chicago team.
Right.
It took Malkin.
Ottawa Senators either. They're on the
Ottawa, Anaheim.
Yep.
St. Louis. St. Louis has come back. In 2019, they go and they win their first cup in franchise history, and they were poised to make another run at it. And they lost some key pieces, had some big injuries, and they came back to the pack. And Colorado ran away with it last year. no, the year before last. Sorry, Colorado ran away with it in 2022. And of course, the pandemic year was really weird, and so we don't talk about that. And then, Colorado ran away with it, and they've come back to the pack, and then Vegas ran away with it, and they've come back to the pack, and Edmonton just came off a 16-game winning streak. So
Vegas.
there's
Vegas.
Yep. And so there's an ebb and flow to this. There's the great dynasties of the past, the teams that won 4 cups in 5 years and won 3 in a row. That's an art form anymore. It takes a real talented GM to be able to pull that kind of thing off, because you have a 3 to 5 year window when you get, when you have a really talented veteran core to be able to put together a 3 to 5 year streak where you win 2 or 3 cups in a row. And so I think over the next century, as the 2000s move forward and we get into the 20s and 30s and the 30s and 40s again, I think we'll see a lot more parity, a lot of teams coming and going and teams not staying around, teams, guys moving a lot more frequently, and big money being spent to lure a guy in for a year or two to try to go win a cup, and him, signing a guy like Chicago signing Stamkos for a 2-year, $25 million a year deal or some ridiculous number.
Well, no, I think too, when it comes down to parity, you have to think back to the NFL this year. Let's look back at the Houston Texans making the playoffs. I don't think anybody had them making the postseason. Indianapolis, had they not fallen in the last week, they would have been in the postseason. So right. it comes down to, I think, like you said, what happens is you have dominant teams that dominate for a while, and then what happens? They come back to the pack, and new teams emerge, and some of them become dominant, and some of them are just one-hit wonders, and they show up, and bam, they're gone for a long time coming. Oh. So, you look at this upcoming Sunday, either the Chiefs are going to win their 3rd championship, or San Francisco is going to tie Pittsburgh and New England for the most ever. So we'll see. I mean, that's how, so I mean, that's what I'm saying. I agree with him. I think what happens is you, as a young team like the Hawks, you're waiting in the wings, right? You're just waiting for everybody to come back to you, and then, like you said, you sign a veteran, you bring in a goalie, and then all of a sudden everything turns, and you're right back on top again in the Western Conference. Because if you think about it too, you're right. The Avalanche are going to come back down. And the teams that are bad right now in the Western Conference are going to get better. That's why I said Ottawa. Someday down the road, God willing, that the Buffalo Sabres will actually be good again. They haven't been good for a long time. But I'm just saying, it's sooner or later it comes around for your team. You just have to be, as a fan, unfortunately, you have to be patient, and you have to wait. And sometimes it's, 20, 30 years before your team, comes out of it. So that's the way that sports is. But I would rather see parity. I'd rather see parity. And unfortunately, the one sport that you'll never see parity is baseball, because it's money. It's a money-driven game. And the big teams that have the money will get all the free agents, and the teams that don't, well, I mean,
or won't.
I've read an article today. You're gonna win. Read an article today that the deal, MLB approved Oakland to move to Las Vegas. I read an article that the Las Vegas mayor said she hopes they stay in Oakland. Yeah, she doesn't want them in Las Vegas. So it's like, okay, what do the A's do now? They moved out of Oakland. They got the approval from the MLB to move to Vegas. Now the mayor's like, we don't want them here.
Why not?
So what the hell is going to happen to the Oakland A's? I mean, obviously, it's going to take 2 years to build a stadium anyway. But still, I mean, that's as a fan of, I mean, and I know there's a lot of diehard fans of the A's. There's been a lot of them that are around.
Mm.
You know, they had a record there for a while when they won 20 straight games in a row. I think the Cleveland Indians broke that record.
Couple
Or
years
the
back.
Guardians, whatever you want to call them now. But I mean, watching. I mean, one of my favorite baseball movies is Moneyball. I mean, that was, you know, Brad Pitt, you know, and they took whatever they could get and they made it work in Oakland. And now again, I hope they move to Vegas. I hope that the team does successful. It just sucks for the people in Oakland now that have lost the Raiders and the A's to Vegas, and they lost Golden State to San Francisco. Is that where the Warriors?
Yeah, the best.
Yeah. So, yeah, you've lost all your professional sports teams to other cities because the economy, I guess, is not great in Oakland. They don't want to get or whatever. So, you know, but
well, you have the A's, right? And they're bad because they won't spend any money.
Correct.
And you have the Raiders.
Yep.
You had the Raiders who were bad because they spent money wrong.
Right.
And because Al Davis wasn't afraid to spend money, and neither is Mark. Mark's very happy to spend money. And the problem is they spend money wrong for the Raiders when they were in Oakland, at least. And the A's are such a tight wad that they won't spend any money, and the Coliseum is a joke. You even talk about a joke of a stadium.
Yeah.
The Oakland Coliseum, that's a joke. And
that's why they want to out.
And that's why they want to go to Vegas because the Coliseum's falling apart around their ears.
Right.
And when they were a good team 40 years, even 25 years ago.
Yes.
And the Coliseum was a decrepit piece of crap. And now some 25 years on, it's even worse. And it needs to be torn down and rebuilt. But the city doesn't want to pay for it, and the team doesn't want to pay for it. And now according to Vegas, they don't want to pay for the A's. Maybe the A's can split time in Tampa Bay and Montreal. There you go.
Any volunteers? No.
Well, at least the Rays are getting a new stadium. It's been approved, and they're going to build the new stadium on the parking lot of the current stadium. So in the next few years, it'll be if you guys ever come
parking will be a nightmare.
I'll show you. Tampa Stadium used to be where One Buck Place is at now, and Raymond James is where their parking lot was for Tampa Stadium. That's how they did it. They changed it around, and they moved it around and stuff like that. And they're going to do the same thing at Tropicana Field. But what Tropicana Field's going to do too is they're going to add restaurants, museums, so that even during the off season, you're going to be able to go and visit that area and make that area money. That's what the mayor agreed upon. The old mayor wants to call them the St. Pete Rays. I wrote an article about that because he feels that the team plays in St. Pete, but they represent the whole Tampa Bay area, which is Pinellas, Pasco, and Hillsborough counties. For those who don't know that, that's what the Tampa Bay area is, because those three counties circled what is known as Tampa Bay, the body of water that sits next to the Gulf of Mexico. It flows into the Gulf of Mexico. But anyway, that is that. They represent the whole area. And like I said, we all know, I don't think in any of our lifetimes we're going to see a salary cap in baseball. I think anything, they need to have a salary floor, because
I agree.
That way you can't undermine your players. And we saw what happened during the pandemic, right? They were going to strike because they weren't making money. They didn't want to play because they were scared they were going to get sick. And they fought back and forth. They went into a strike, last year and the season started late, there was no spring training. At least we know, aren't they going to be reporting here the next week or two to start spring training? I thought spring training gets started next week or two. So at least this year we're going to have a full spring training where it's not like a two-week thing and then they're back on the field to start the season. Which hopefully that won't be so many injuries. We had a lot of injuries last year in baseball. I think as we got later in the season, you have pitchers getting hurt.
Big names too.
Getting hurt. And really, if you guys think about it, there hasn't been any big moves in MLB outside of Ohtani. Other than that, there hasn't really been any big moves.
Wow.
Nothing like that. Nothing. I mean,
no, everybody's kind of stayed pat.
Yeah, I mean, so what's your guys' opinion on that? Do you think that's good for baseball that everyone's like, you know what? We got the team. We'll bring these guys in for spring training invitations. Certain guys get spring training. We may put them on the roster. We may not put them on the roster. Do you guys like that there's not a lot of trading going on in MLB? I mean, I don't think it doesn't bother me. So
it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, I don't care one way or the other. I mean, honestly, because baseball's a weird sport in that regard. Yeah. Because I don't really think that moving, trading from one team to another, it very seldomly works out for either team. Usually, especially if you're trading interconference or interleague. If you're going from the AL to the NL or vice versa, both teams generally lose out on those deals. So I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that everybody's kind of riding with what they have, dancing with the ones that brung you. And baseball prospects, there are 100 minor league teams across the three levels. Easy, and so just staying within your organization. And we've had some big retirements over the last couple of years. I kind of think this is kind of a reset period for baseball, where everyone's just kind of hold steady. We might see some big moves at the deadline. I kind of feel like this is the deadline year, where we see some teams that are pulling the trigger on some big names. Some teams in the hunt, but looking for a bat or an arm will be in the market to pick up a bat or an arm. I kind of see this as a fire sale year. That was yard sale and fire sale at the same time. Fire yard. I'm kind of predicting a fire sale kind of year where we see big names on the move at the deadline. Is it Trout on the move at the deadline? Maybe.
Yeah.
The Angels could blow it up because they lost Ohtani to the Dodgers. Trout's one guy. You can't win with one guy. I mean, as good as Trout is, one guy does not a team make. I could very easily see Trout on the move at the deadline. If the Angels are 20-42 at the deadline, or 20-59 at the deadline, or whatever, whatever it might be, 30-71 at the deadline. No, I could very see the Angels blowing it up and starting all the way over, and him on the move to Houston, New York, either New York. As the Mets. Well, last year was the big money year, though. The Mets spent all that money. The Yankees spent money. Everybody spent money last year. And so, but I like what you said. I think, if we can't get a salary cap, a $75 million salary floor, I think is reasonable. Then you can't have teams not paying guys. Just platooning 10 or 15 guys out there every 2 weeks. No set lineups, no superstars. And you can't just have a money laundering apparatus masquerading as a baseball team.
Well, I mean, if you look, but speaking of that, that was the Oakland A's last year. They never had a set lineup. It was just throw those guys out there. Whatever 9 said, okay, I think I want to play today. And that's who went out. That's who went out there. So, yeah, I mean, that's a perfect example. I myself, I like the 75 mil number. I would say 100 mil. I'd say $100 million. That's where I would put it.
100 mils?
Yeah, I put it at 100 mil. I mean, I don't know if that's a little steep for some teams, small market teams, I guess like the Rays or the Royals, the A's.
Yeah, I've never liked the term small market because it's not like, the only teams that I've ever considered a small market team is the Green Bay Packers. Across sports, if you play in a major metropolis, if you play in a city of over 150,000 people, you're not playing in a small market. Green Bay being the one exception in my mind of a small market. If there's more than 150,000 permanent residents in your city, it's not a small market. If you have rush hour traffic, you don't have a small market.
No.
And so I know Kansas City. Kansas City's a cheap ass team. Oakland's a cheap ass team. And I wanted to go back to Moneyball for a second because I love Moneyball and I love the myth of Moneyball. Moneyball is good for AU, but Moneyball doesn't win championships. And you get in against a team where they can rake with guys that are getting paid. I'm sorry, but Bernie Williams and Alfonso Soriano and Derek Jeter and Andy Pettit and Mike Mussina and Roger Clemens and Jorge Posada and everybody else that was getting paid by the Yankees, they won a title. All these guys that were nice pieces and good guys and cultured guys, and they got raffle stocked by real professionals. Oh, they looked like a JV squad against varsity when they got in, and it's something that I've been working on for the last couple weeks. Is that when you're in the regular season, you don't play the 5 or 10 best teams in the league on a nightly basis. No, you catch the crappy teams, the bottom feeders, the never was's and the has-beens of the league on a nightly basis. But when you get into the playoffs, you're playing the 8 or 10 or 12 best teams in the league 3 or 4 nights in a row. And those guys all get paid. They all get paid well. And you can luck your way into 100 wins or 90 wins, 95 wins in the regular season when you play 120 games against the shittiest teams that have ever been fielded.
Mm-hmm.
And so Moneyball looks like this. Moneyball and sabermetrics and all these stats for nerds, they look like game changers. But what wins baseball games is average RBIs and runs. And your basic stat, there's a reason why for the last 80 or 100 years, the metric that's been used to qualify a good batter has been hits, average, RBIs, runs, and home runs. There's a reason why those are the main stats that you look at, because those are the most important stats. Average is your ability to hit, RBIs is your ability to hit in the clutch, and runs is your ability to get home. And those are the stats that matter. Anything after that is superfluous. That's a big word. And I'm sorry, but baseball has a problem with nerds. Baseball has a nerd problem. All these guys on their Twitters and their TikToks and their, oh, look at this guy, his OPS is 728. Yeah, but he hit 220. He had 40 walks and 100 plate appearances. In the other 60 plate appearances, he struck out 35 times. Who gives a shit about his OPS? He walked 40 times, struck out 30 times, hit 220, and had 18 RBIs. Yeah, his OPS is great, but his everyday baseball is bullshit.
Yes.
Sorry, but that fires me up.
Well,
I
that's
get
because
it.
that's one of the stats that they look at too. And if you go back and watch that movie, bud, that's exactly you hit the nail on the head because that's exactly. Oh, we want to get guys that can get on base. They didn't care if it was a walk or a hit. They didn't get so you had guys on that team that were hitting 262 for the year and had 50, 60 strikeouts. Well, because they were taking a lot of walks, and like you said, when it comes time when you get to the playoffs and you play against the Bostons, the New Yorks, the Chicagos, and so on and so forth, you're right. Those teams pay their players. They can rake, and they know they can get clutch hits when they need to get clutch hits.
And as much fun as all those stats are, at the end of the day, the stats that matter are average, RBIs, and runs. Because average tells me how often you hit, how often you get on base, how often you you get a hit. That's the word I was looking for. RBIs tells me how often you get a clutch hit, a hit with runners in scoring position, whether it be first or whether it be second or third. And runs tells me how good of a base runner you are. Runs may be a little overweighted because but and we've gone into this. We're in the era of we're in the true three outcome era of baseball. That's a home run, a walk, or a strikeout. And hitting for power is more important than hitting for average because an out, whether it be a duck snort down to first base and he taps the bag and you're out, or you hit it 354 yards, or 354, if you hit a ball 354 yards, you're doing all right. And you hit it 354 feet, it's just a long, loud out, as Jim Price might like to say.
Yes.
And so for me, I'll take a guy who hits 284 with 100 homes, Jesus Christ, with 100 RBIs and 85 runs over a guy who hits 260 with 80 RBIs and 60 runs, but he walks. But he's got 35 walks. So his OPS is 584 over this guy whose OPS is 521. Oh well. He's got more. He's contributed. Guy A has contributed more in bigger spots than guy B. Period. End of story. It's not up for debate. Not up for discussion. It's the end of the conversation. Because OPS and OPS plus and WAR and all these other nerd stats, they tell the story beyond the box score. But at the end of the day, the box score is the only story that matters.
Right. Yep.
And they don't ask when they're asking you how, they don't ask you how. They ask you how many. Nobody remembers that.
Comes down
25 years from now, nobody's going to remember J.J. McCarthy went 10 for 18 for $140 in the championship game. Because it don't matter. Because he's just going to be able to hold up his championship ring and say, I won. I won it. You didn't. Conversation over. The 01, or was it the 2000? Was it 2000 or 01? The A's. I think it was 2000, wasn't it? The Moneyball A's.
I think so. I think you're right. I think it was either 2000 or the 01 A's. Hang on, let me look it up.
I want to say, yeah.
2000.
Might have been 02.
Yeah, it was.
Was it 02?
The 02 A's. Okay.
Yes.
Who won the title in 02? Wasn't it the Angels?
The Angels won it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no, 2002.
And they had a good team. That 2002 Angels team was very good. They could hit their power, they hit clutch, they had good pitching. And if you go back and you look at it, I don't know where I was going with that now. I was going to go some. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Yeah, the O2As, they ain't got any hardware. When they're having a 20-year reunion and they're hanging out, and you know how great that season was, as great as that season was, it don't mean shit. In the long run, the teams that get remembered are the teams that win it all. You know, for as good as the 21 Wolverines were, they didn't get it done. The team that got it done was Georgia. The 22, for as good as the 22 Wolverines were, they didn't get it done. The team that got it done was Georgia. You know, the 2023 Wolverines finally put it all together and got the job done. Business is finished. And so, you know, no matter how good or bad a game or a team or a player may be, you know, Trent Dilfer may be maybe the worst quarterback to have ever won a Super Bowl. He's an insufferable prick, and he's unlikable. He's an unlikable guy.
He's a head coach.
He's an unlikable head coach. He's at
UAB.
yeah. And yet, at the end of the day, he's got hardware, and you don't. You know, so I mean, you know, as good as Mark Martin and Tony Stewart and Denny Hamlin are, Kyle Busch, you know, they're all in that same boat. You know, they're great drivers. You know, some of the best of all time, top 10, top 5 drivers in their eras. You know, and some of the, you know, arguably some of the best drivers of all time, and they don't have a 500. You know who does? Derek fucking Cope. Christ Almighty. You know, and at the end of the day, that's it. You know, winning it all, winning the most important games, and winning and winning in the biggest moments is what matters. You know,
I was gonna say, but look at you were just talking about Trent Dilfer. Look at guys like Trent Dilfer and Brad Johnson that both have a Super Bowl ring, but Dan Marino and Jim Kelly don't.
Yep.
Dilfer's never gonna make the Hall of Fame. Brad Johnson's not gonna.
No, God, no.
Marino and Kelly are both in the Hall of Fame, and neither one of them won a ring. Now they were only there 5 times, 4 by Kelly, 1 by Marino. But they never got
over the hump.
They ran into better.
You know who else has got a ring? Jeff Hostetler.
Yes, he does.
With the Giants.
I was a little kid when that Super Bowl happened. That was at Tampa Stadium. Scott Norwood missed the field goal. I was watching that game.
Yep.
Jeff Hostetler, back to quarterback to Phil Simms. Yep. Bill Parcells. Bill Belichick Giants, because Bill Belichick.
It was. Yep.
And,
you know, another guy.
That was the Bills' first Super Bowl, right? Of the 4.
Yep.
Against the Giants. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. That was you know, Ken Anderson doesn't have a ring. Bernie Kosar doesn't have a ring. You know, guys that would be Hall of Famers if they had a ring. If Bernie and Andy had rings, they'd be in the Hall. You know, I think about all those guys that were close but no cigar. Good numbers, good long careers, long careers. And yet, the one thing that you need, the thing that matters, Eli's got a pair. And Eli was just above average. He was very above mid. Every year it was like, the Giants are so mid, and yet somehow Eli's got a pair of rings. You know, Philip Rivers never got a ring, or Drew Brees has only got one. You know, trying to think of other guys. What's that? Rodgers has one.
One ring.
Eli's got 2.
How many did Ben Roethlisberger win? Did he win 1 or 2?
He's got 2. He's got 2.
All right.
Oh, Kurt Warner's only got 1.
Kurt Warner's only has 1. Yep.
Eli's got 2, for Christ's sake. I mean,
What can I tell you?
no.
Defense won Super Bowl and won
And miracles.
off the helmet is what
Yeah.
got them to their first win.
What got them there first?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah, that is true.
Right.
I was
No,
go ahead, bud.
No, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say I was watching Utree's video. This one he made about the NFL, where the teams that didn't make the playoffs, he was going through all of them, and it's funny. The first team that came up was the Patriots, and he was talking about the end of Bill Belichick and how that something about the rest of the NFL will be now you can live in hell now, New England, because you had the dynasty for so long, and now it's over. So, but yeah, if you want to watch about the rest of the NFL that didn't make the postseason, watch that video because he touches on a lot of teams that didn't make it. Yep.
Allen hasn't been in the Super Bowl yet. Allen hasn't been. Burrow's lost 1. Burrow's 0-1 in the big game. Oh, and Garoppolo lost. Garoppolo went 0-1.
Mm-hmm.
Cam went 0-1. At the end of the day, for as much as I love stats, and I'm a big stat guy, but once you get beyond the base stats, like I said, everything is superfluous at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are so many things that go into all those goofy stats, like third down efficiency plus 5 yards from the left hash, in normal conditions in October. That's all superfluous. When you have to dig beyond the surface to try and justify why a guy is good or bad, he was either good in the first right or he was bad in the first right, and anything beyond that is just ego padding on your part.
Mm-hmm.
Because if all those extra stats mention these things, then they wouldn't be extra stats. They wouldn't be nice things to know.
Right.
Yes.
And numbers, and this is why I'm always frustrated by the go for it on every fourth down guy. Because the a 55% chance of converting versus a 62% chance of them getting a touchdown or scoring points on their if you punt, they have a 62% chance of scoring on their next drive. You sound like Scott Steiner doing math at this point. That and my 33 and the 3rd% chance, and with Kurt Angle, he's got a 25.5% chance, but then minus my 33.5% chance, he's an 8 and the 3rd chance of winning at Backlash on Sunday. I don't know if you've ever seen that video or not, but it's really funny. I die every time I watch it. It's so funny to me. But and at the end of the day, the two teams that are in the Super Bowl, the two teams that were in the college playoff, the last year's World Series champion, it was the team that played the best at the biggest moment.
Mm-hmm.
And as good or bad as a guy might be, as deep as we want to get into a stat or a stat line, and you start looking at, when you start looking beyond the when you start looking beyond the base stats, and like I said about the A's, to kind of round this all out with the A's, is that you can't control for just spending money.
Mm-hmm.
It's, and I think I'll grant that it's a little bit different in the salary cap sports, where you have to try and find guys below the fold on page 6. Guys in the back half of the draft. You look at Brock Purdy, right? A guy that dropped to the last in the draft, and San Francisco found a gem, at least a 1-year wonder. We'll have to wait and see what happens Sunday and into the future. But San Francisco looks like a bunch of geniuses right now, because they did their homework and they did their due diligence and they did their research. And of course, right now, as it sits, they look like a genius.
Mm-hmm.
But but then you have to weigh that against the weakest quarterback class in like 35 years. And so I mean, when you have guys that are already out of the league after 2 years, guys that have been benched and started and benched and started and benched and started more times than a yo-yo or a lawnmower, it's not hard to look like a genius. It's not hard to look like it's not hard to look like a genius when you take a shot on a guy in the 4th round and he turns out to be a stud. It's especially in the salary cap sport. Well, baseball isn't a salary cap sport, and it's not going to be a salary cap sport, not anytime soon. And the thing about it is that with the money that's being thrown around by MLB teams over the next 25 or 30 or 40 years is ludicrous money.
Yeah.
You've got to be willing to play in that. This is big. This is high stakes poker. This is big. This is the big leagues. And if you want to play at the big league table, you're gonna have to be willing to put up big league money.
That's right.
And so getting lucky and finding a guy in the supplemental draft, or finding a cast off, or finding a cast of characters that can win and gel and be a team for a year is fun, and it's a great story, and 25 years from now they'll make another movie about you. But it'll just be a nice story. It won't be a championship. It won't be sustained success over the long term. Like the Yankees, like the Red Sox, like the Astros, like the Cardinals. I mean, look at the Tigers. They had a 6-year window, 7-year window where they were on top of the world, and when they aged out, and they couldn't afford to bring in big names, and they couldn't keep the big names when Scherzer moved on, when Fielder moved on, when they had to trade away Verlander, when they started blowing it up, when Guillen got old, when Kinsler got old. And they had to let everybody go and try and start over. They've been in the basement. And Oakland had that miracle 2002. They ran into a buzzsaw, and they haven't got out of the sawmill yet.
Nope.
Because as nice as it is to be able to find a gem, as nice as it is to put together a middling AA lineup that does what you want, which will accomplish what you want to accomplish in a given year, it's not a recipe for long-term success. The recipe for long-term success is paying the guys in the league and building a strong farm system where you have assets to be able to move at the deadline, where you have top prospects that you can trade away at the deadline, where you're mortgaging the future and not the present. And then now I understand that the Yankees haven't won a title in almost 20 years, which is really weird for the Yankees. But
It is.
But still, they're the cream of the crop every year. They're a top 5 team outside of like 2 years in the last 50 where they weren't at least competitive in September. Very rarely have they not at least been competitive in September, where they've been either in a pennant race or they've been in a wild card chase. It's very rare for big money baseball to be bad because when you can just buy the best players, you have the best players. And it's not like the in this weird era of big money baseball yet. But you still see big money baseball winning championships. Dodgers, A's, Angels, Astros. Sorry, Dodgers, Astros, Red Sox. The teams that the guys that small money teams have been able to send teams that they can't get over the hump. 3 or 4 years ago now, Tampa Bay sent a small money team to the series, and they got shellacked. So I rest my case.
Yeah, no. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what baseball is. It comes down to the teams that spend money are going to win championships because they can afford to keep the big free agents or bring in. Mm-hmm. I mean, the good news about what you would consider small market teams, they have good prospects that end up becoming good players either on that team or somewhere else. So it just comes down to, are you able to keep them, or do they go someplace else and they're a diamond in the rough, and that's happened, but yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, baseball, the teams that spend money, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Red Sox, all of them, they're going to get free agents to come. And the teams that don't spend a lot of money, they'll have them for a year, and then they'll bring them in at the deadline for a rental to get them to the World Series or get them wins. But then again, if you look at the team last year that won the World Series, the Rangers were not supposed to be there. The Rangers beat the Rays in the wild card, and then went on to win the World Series. So no one had them winning the World Series last year either. So there you go with that. CJ Stroud won Offensive Rookie of the Year. That was just announced. So that was just announced.
Yeah,
that's not a shocker. I don't think that's a shocker. So
well, he earned it. So as I say, big ups to him for earning one. He definitely earned it.
Yeah.
That was a given, almost.
That's like I said. I mean, there's if he didn't get out, that would be a shame. That would be an absolute.
In terms
didn't get it. Yeah.
In terms of foregone conclusions, and not one that I don't think you're going to see anybody. Maybe some diehard Texan haters might be mad about it, but they can get mad. They can get glad in the same pants they got mad in because he was the best offensive rookie this year.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree.
By far and away.
We have a half hour left. If you guys want to get into the Super Bowl on Sunday, I've been hearing on the radio and reading some articles online that I guess the 49ers are upset with the turf at UNLV where they're practicing. Yeah. I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, do the Raiders play on turf or do they play on grass in Vegas? I know in Arizona they play on grass. They roll the grass out and they bring it in. But is it the same way in Vegas, or does Vegas play on turf, like an indoor stadium? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know. You'd have to look that up.
Okay.
Right.
Let's see.
Yeah, I'm not sure. No, I don't. If you're complaining about the turf on Wednesday, I think you've already lost the game. If you're more worried about the practice field. I don't know. I don't know if that bodes well for their prospects.
Right. Let's see. The Raiders. Let's see. It will seat 65,000 people, expandable to 71,000. Construction cost $2.15 billion in 2022. Let's see if it tells me what kind of turf they have. No, it says Bermuda grass for the Raiders.
Oh.
So it's real grass for the Raiders. For UNLV, it's artificial turf. But for the Raiders, it's grass. So I'm assuming that it will be grass for the Super Bowl. I'm going to assume. So they must be, I guess, the practice field that the Niners are on right now is turf, and they're afraid that players are gonna get hurt. I know the offensive tackle for the Chiefs is out for the game. I heard that on the radio this morning. So that's going to hurt them. I think it's their right tackle too, which I think is Patrick Mahomes' blind side. So yeah, or maybe the other way around. But still,
yeah, it's the other way around.
You want to have your offensive line intact because again, let's look at this year, right? You had C.J. Stroud, who had a good offensive line. Texans got to the postseason. You had what's his name? The first overall pick. Why can't I think of his name now?
Young.
Bryce Young for Carolina, who had a terrible offensive line, and they won 2 games. So, and then they win 2 games, and then they make that deal with the Chicago Bears, which now the Bears get the first overall pick.
Yeah.
Which, again, this is the second year in a row the Bears get the pick. I saw something today,
right.
guys. Like they were predicting trades that would turn the draft upside down. The number one. Are you ready for this? The Bears trade. Who's their quarterback right now?
Justin Fields.
Justin
Fields to the Patriots. For the third. I guess they would get. I guess they get the 3rd overall pick and like 2 picks like down the road. But legitimately, because Gerard Mayo took over that team, don't be surprised if he's not going to mix things up and turn things upside down. Because I guess according to what I've read, and I'm a Pats fan too, that he's been groomed to be a head coach, and now this is his time to shine. Now,
right?
Who knows how he's going to do? I mean, we won
obviously
4 games last year. Weren't we 4-13 a year ago?
Yeah. Yep.
So if he wins 5 in his first season, that's a win. If he wins 5 next season, that's a win. I mean, again, just like with USF, you go from a 1-win season to a 7-win season with a bowl win, 6-game win season, and you get to a bowl game, and then you go and dominate in the bowl. But what I mean is, if you have something like that, and do you think that the Patriots would go out and make a trade like that to stir things up and say, okay, Justin, you've had a terrible offensive line in Chicago. We're gonna focus on our offensive line, get you some weapons here in New England, and come play for us. I can see that happening. I that might sound crazy, but I don't think Chicago Bears want to hear that. But if you can draft Caleb Williams, there you go. So I mean, that seems like the overall pick is him. So we'll see.
No, Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. with 3. It's not a bad combination. I wouldn't hate it if I was a Bears.
Yeah. With who's their top defensive player that came over? Myles Garrett? No, Myles Garrett plays for the Browns. Who's the guy that came over and is the top defensive player?
Khalil Mack is who you're thinking.
Mac,
Yeah.
No, Mack's not there anymore. Mack's not there anymore. He was traded away. Somebody came over last year for Chicago. That's okay. And anyway,
I don't remember.
You can get a decent if you can get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. together, and you build around them. I can't see why Chicago wouldn't be within a year or two winning the NFC North, because the Packers
Nobody's competing.
Obviously, they've got Jordan Love. They found their quarterback, even though
Again.
Minnesota.
Another one.
Minnesota needs a retool, and
Yeah.
I don't think Kirk Cousins is coming back. I doubt it. I doubt that he's coming back. I mean, that's hard to say.
Yeah, it's really hard to say.
But then, and then Detroit got all the way to the NFC Championship game, and because of two bonehead fourth down plays, we'll be talking about that right now. But they're on the right. I don't see them going away. I just don't. Now,
we'll have to wait and see on that.
Well, the issue with that is now will their head coach learn from his mistakes? This year with going for it on gung ho on it, does he tone it down, or does he say, you know what, that's how I coach, that's how my team is going to play? Bottom line, but then again, like you said, the good teams that make mistakes can overcome those mistakes. The teams that are not good teams that make mistakes down the road cannot overcome those mistakes. So that's the interesting thing about that is can these teams like Detroit, can they recover from being two possible plays away from
a Super Bowl?
Being a Super Bowl. And that's the thing. So
that is the $64,000 question: is can Dan Campbell learn from his mistakes?
Well,
right, exactly.
but stay properly aggressive though, because sometimes that is the right. Like, I'm okay. I'm okay with the first one, right? I can live with the first one. Where you go for it, you don't get it, no big deal. Go back after him in the next one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the bigger problem is the fumble on the next drive, right? Is the miscommunication between the quarterback and running back, right? And that to me is a Dan Campbell. That is a symptom of Dan Campbell's head coaching. If you look at the great head coaches if you look at the great coaches in history, whether it be all the way back to like George Halas in the 40s Bears, or Vince Lombardi and his Packers, or Don Shula and the Dolphins, Tom Landry and his Cowboys, Chuck Noll and his Steelers, and another dozen names that I could rattle off just offhand, but I'll save you the trouble. What they were very, very good at was settling the team down in those big moments.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't compound the mistakes, right? Whether like Bill Cowher, I think Bill Cowher is the perfect example. Fire and brimstone, cussing, swearing, spittle flying, and Jimmy Johnson's the same way. Bill Parcells, the guys that were all, fire and brimstone and they make, you drop a pass, you run a mile kind of guys, right? And what they were very good at was channeling that into in a productive way, where you might come over and scream at you for 5 minutes while they're in TV timeout, just cussing you like a dog. And okay, we're coming back, and we'll be back from commercial in 30 seconds. Like, they go, okay, you got 30 seconds, coach. So we go back, and he goes, okay, woosah, and then, and that's out, and he rallies the troops, settles everybody down, and they go out and they make a play. And I don't know if Dan Campbell will ever be able to find that finesse that you need to be an all-time great head coach. And so for me, the more worrying thing than the bad calls or the questionable play calling at the end of the game, to me that is the mental errors that the team makes in big moments under his leadership. That is the more concerning thing to me, because Bill Belichick, how many times did they have a miracle play and then they made a mistake on the next one, right? The helmet catch was a 1 in a million play, and they didn't have when New York drives down there and they score the game winner, game's pretty much over. They don't have time to go, If it had been a Bill Belichick or even college ranks like Urban Meyer or Nick Saban, in those big moments they don't make mistakes under very, very rarely do you see a team make a mistake under Bill Belichick or Don Shula in big moments. Of course, sometimes they come out and run a play and it just doesn't work. And that happens, but they don't fumble the damn ball. Don't put the ball on the turf and get it scooped up by the other team inside your own 20. And that is just devastating to your defense. This is the most demoralizing thing in football, is to give up a big play, get scored on, and then have to turn around and go right back out there after getting scored on. Mm-hmm. And so as much fun as Dan Campbell might be in a press conference, as much fun as Dan Campbell might have coaching football, and as much fun as they might have playing for the man, I question his leadership in the big moments where the game is on the line. And you go and look at those plays that on the 2 fourth downs were dropped. They were dropped. Oh, either one of those is a catch, and we have a whole other conversation tonight. Mm-hmm. When we talk about the genius of Dan Campbell, the brilliance of Dan Campbell, the guts of Dan Campbell. If it's stupid but it works, then it ain't stupid.
Right.
And so like I said when I first started this rant, is I can live with the first one. Hey, we're gonna take a shot. We like our odds. We like the matchups. They got the matchup. All they had to do was catch the damn ball. Okay, so that one didn't work. Get in the same spot, a little bit longer. It's 4th and 3. It's a 48-yard kick. Take your points. Take your medicine. And learn to coach situational football, for the love of Christ.
Right.
Because in those moments, all gas, no brakes might work sometimes, but if every pass is a 50-50 ball, half your passes are getting picked off.
Yeah.
A wing and prayer, as much as people love Brett Favre back in the day, as much as fun as Brett Favre was to watch, a wing and a prayer wins 9 or 10 games a year. I mean, for all those years that the Packers had Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, they won 2 Super Bowls in 35 years. Gunslinging, winging a prayer. Fuck it, somebody's down, driver's down there. I'm just gonna chuck it up and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
As much fun as that might be, it's so cringe-inducing when you're a fan of the team. And after 35 years of cringe football,
yeah,
I'm a big believer in discretion is the better part of valor. Take your points, get off the field, give your defense a lead, let them play with some play with some edge, where it doesn't, where they can give up a play, where they can give up a 25-yarder, where they don't have to go down and try to kill a guy to hopefully get the ball back for the offense so they can hopefully go score.
Mhm.
When you've been stagnating for a quarter and a half,
Yeah.
The best 30 minutes of football of my life followed up by the 30 worst minutes of football in my life.
And guys, Will Anderson Jr. Wins Defensive Rookie of the Year, which means both Texans took Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year. Well deserved.
Sounds about right.
Well deserved on both.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. So here is the line for the Super Bowl. The Niners are a 2-point favorite, with the over/under being 47 and a hook.
Just 2?
Just
Wow.
2.
It came down.
Oh, it's really strong.
Here's the Hard Rock app that we have in. Well, it's not going to show it now, but yeah, because my phone is black. But yeah, yeah. So right now it's the over/under is 47 and a half. The line is 2. Kickoffs at 6:30. So yeah, who do you guys like? With the line and the over/under, or just picking it overall, you can give me your final score too. So
I got Kansas City 34, San Francisco 27. So I'm taking Kansas City to win outright, and I'm taking the over.
Over, okay.
I expect a good competitive. To me, this is the best matchup since 2013. Since the most compelling matchup since 2014-2013. The Legion of Boom versus the Peyton Manning's Broncos and Tom Brady's Patriots. So I think I know a lot of people were depressed last week after the championship games when it wasn't Detroit and Baltimore. But I look at this. I look at this as the most exciting Super Bowl in a decade. I'm so excited for this one on Sunday afternoon, early evening, into the night. I think that it's going to be. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I expect I expect a decent amount of offense from both teams. The thing I think is the difference is going to be quarterback play. I think that Kansas City will force Purdy to make a couple of mistakes, and Kansas City will capitalize on them. I think even with their tackle being out for Kansas City, they've had a patchwork offensive line all year anyway, and everybody on that offensive line is pretty well plug and play. I don't think it'll be as big of an issue as it was 3 years ago when they played Tampa before the end of the world. I expect, because I feel like this is where Mahomes has an advantage of playing against a great defensive line, and he's seen that before. I think he'll be able to, if the offensive line can't protect, they'll be able to make adjustments. Pacheco's a great back got great hands out of the backfield. I expect screens and draws to kind of get that the defensive line upfield and over the defensive line in front of the linebackers, and get speed and space, let your playmakers make plays. I think Kelce will be a big difference in the game, a fully healthy Kelce, and I think marginally, I think the San Francisco defense is better than the Kansas City offense. No, other way around. I think the Kansas City offense is marginally better than the San Francisco defense. Right. I think the San Francisco offense is marginally better than the Kansas City defense, and I think they're very even. 2-2 is great. It was 4.5 earlier in the week. I'm much more comfortable with Kansas City at 2. Yeah. 4.5 was a lot If I was betting on the Niners 4.5, it's a lot to cover because I don't think it. I think it'll be that. I don't think it'll be that wide.
Right.
And I know I have it at 8, but I think yeah I think that experience trumps the exuberance of youth. You know, I think that because the thing I look at with I was talking with my buddies at work during the week is I think that if Kansas City were to have gotten
Yeah.
um, if Kansas City were to have gotten a 20 if Kansas City gets out to a 24-7 lead and they get it down to the 22 or whatever it was. Andy Reid is going to kick the field goal. He isn't going to roll the dice. He isn't going to go all gas, no brakes. Andy Reid kicks that field goal, makes it 27-10. Puts his defense out there with a 17-point lead. And even if they go down, even if San Francisco makes a miraculous catch 2 weeks in a row, and they make it 27-10 or 27-17, I still think that I think that KC's offense has enough firepower, and Andy Reid is a very, very accomplished, competent head coach who will be able to make the right in-game reads to be able to keep San Francisco out front. I just don't see them pissing away a 17-point lead with 8 minutes to go in the third quarter.
Yeah.
Lou?
Well, I've been trying to go back and forth with this all week, because like Adam said, I agree because this can go either way. You got the best Super Bowl in over a decade, and I've been trying to go back and forth all week. I'm just surprised the spread is so low, only 2 points. But I think I'm taking the 49ers, even though a lot of people are thinking, you can go the other way. But I'm still thinking 49ers. They're on that practice field. They know the practice field better. I think will feel better than their opponents. So I do think that you have a slight edge in winning this. I know a lot of people are thinking, they want Mahomes, in Kansas City, and then if they win, Taylor Swift, he can promote to Taylor Swift and all that. But I don't think that'll happen. I don't think it'll happen. Let's even shake off that one. So I'm thinking the 49ers are gonna have a slight edge. This is like a home game. Sorry, it's like a home game much. Just like a few hundred miles down the road. So I think with that, being said, I do think the 49ers will have a slight edge, 28-24.
Okay, 20-24 San Francisco. Adam, you said 31-24, buddy? Is that what you said?
34-27, Kansas City.
Oh, okay.
I watched the Grammys with my roommate on Monday night, and Taylor obviously won Album of the Year. That's the biggest award at the Grammys every year. And when she won the award, if you read what her lips said, she goes, "Are you effing serious?" And
yes,
she announced earlier in the evening that she was having a new album out in April. I'm like, you're going to be back there next year too. You know that, right? Like, a year from now, he's going to win Album of the Year again. But anyway, the line. I mean, I've still haven't made a bet yet, but I think I'm going to do it tomorrow. I think I'm going to make a bet on the Hard Rock app. I think I'm going to bet the game. I'm going to take the Chiefs. I'm going to say 31. I'm going to say 31-24. I think both teams will, again, just like Adam said, I think it's going to be a back and forth type situation. At the end of the day, we all know that experience wins. And Mahomes has that experience. He's been there twice. He's 1-1 in those games. Obviously, the last time he was there, it was an absolute nightmare at Raymond James Stadium in my backyard against Tom Brady and the Bucs, who, they had a miracle year. And again, at the end of the day, the defense had him all over the place. I think the same game plan that you saw against Baltimore, it's the same game plan you're going to see against San Francisco. They're going to get They're going to eat him across the middle of the field. Mahomes is going to use his legs to extend drives, keep the defense on their toes. And I think
Yes.
like Brock Purdy's going to make a mistake. And again, that's not a diss on the kid by any means of the imagination, because he's done a hell of a job. Mr. Irrelevant, he's done a hell of a job. At the end of the day, unless the Chiefs are going to make him make a mistake, Jones is a great pass rusher. They're going to make him make a mistake, whether it's a fumble or interception. It may happen early in the game. It may happen late in the game. But he's going to make a mistake, and that's where the Chiefs will, pounce on it and take it. So I like Kansas City as well. But I agree with Adam. I think this is one of those games that is going to be very competitive. The last Super Bowl that we saw that was really close was obviously Seattle, New England, when 100 times out of 100, you should have handed the ball to Marshawn Lynch, and the game would have been over, and the Seattle Seahawks would have won back-to-back championships. And they throw the ball, and Malcolm Butler becomes a hero, and the rest is history and all that. But let's hope it's not like one of those New England and Atlanta games where a team gets off to a great start and they're up by a lot of points, and then they, like Adam said, let's not blow a lead. Let's not blow a lead. You know what I mean?
Let's not implode in the second half.
That point game, with New England and whatever it was, 13-3.
That was against the Rams. That was Jared.
That was a great game.
Yeah.
You feel like
that was a great game.
Okay, fine, but
So yeah, I mean,
no, I hope it's not like one of those late 80s, early 90s games where it's over at the half.
Yeah.
Like San Francisco and San Diego 25, 30 years ago now. 30 years ago now. Where it was freaking 48-10 or whatever, 48-7 or whatever.
Yeah.
48-8, 43-8 in 2014. What a disaster. What a joke. Or 2013, actually.
I think one of the best was the 49ers versus the Bengals in '89.
Yes.
That was a great game.
Oh, yeah.
Eagles, the first.
Boomer Esiason.
The first Eagles, Patriots Super Bowl in 2004. That was a hell of a ball game.
Yep.
Both of those games were great. Eagles and Patriots in Carolina and New England. Those were both great games. And I just hope it's not a blowout. Honestly, I hope it's decently high scoring. I hope that neither team runs away and hides with it. As someone with no rooting interest in this game, I'm just hoping for a great game. Keep it interesting, keep it exciting. And so if it's
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, if it's interesting and exciting, it'll at least be worth watching. Just be worth watching, damn it.
That's it. Yep. All right, gentlemen. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and talk about your show, sir.
All right. Well, of course, the Enhanced Sports Show rolls on Saturday 4 to 6, and even after football season, we still run 4 to 6. Number to call is 512-543-4662. We'll start with our pregame, our Super Bowl pregame. Remember, it's not theirs, it's ours. Keep that in mind. My 7th annual edition. We'll also recap the NFL awards, aka the NFL honors, the NFL Hall of Fame inductees, also NBA draft, the
trade deadline.
Trade deadline.
Yes, NBA trade deadline, which happened at 3:00 expired at 3:00 this afternoon. We'll take care of that. We'll talk some hot stove MLB baseball news, college basketball, especially in the women's department, because this Sunday before the Super Bowl, we could be seeing history being made in the women's game. Those of you who follow that know what I'm talking about. Particularly a player from Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, we'll try to have some. Yes, we'll also try to have some UFC and WWE news. I didn't get a chance to get through all of it last week. Oh, we'll recap also the NHL and NFL All-Star games. Oops, I mean the Pro Bowl. Sorry, they don't call it All-Star game. Sorry. This week in sports
Yeah, we
history,
didn't even get into that.
yeah. This week in sports history, the ridiculous sign of the week. I think I just mentioned it. Oh boy.
Mhm.
The feel-good story of the week, and of course, where your thoughts and comments are always welcome. So if you got time,
Yeah.
call 512-543-4662. I'll repeat again, 512-543-4662. Don't forget, you can look us up on YouTube. Type in, go to YouTube and type in theenhancedsportsshow.com. And if you want to subscribe, it only costs you $4.95 a month.
Oh, shit.
And with
I
that,
got
hey,
subscribers in there, guys.
so with that, I have survived a show downstairs at the desk. So hopefully
Excellent.
that's one of many moving forward. Like I said earlier in the show, we'll be joined by our draft expert, Jeff Barnes, in the next couple weeks. So, guys, if you want to comment down below on YouTube or the Facebook feed, comment your questions for him. If you have questions about your team going into the draft, we can absolutely get those into Jeff
We'll
next week.
collate those and get them in.
Right. I want to thank everyone that came on this evening. Thanks again to the women and men of our armed services and our first responders. Thank you for doing what you do. We wouldn't be doing it without you guys. Thanks to our networks that hold us. Thanks to our sponsors. Guys, we'll be back next week. Everybody have a great Super Bowl Sunday. Even if your team's not playing or you don't have it cheering, watch the game. They're always fun to watch. Hopefully, like my two co-hosts and myself, we don't want to blow out. We want a close game. No blowouts.
Yeah, we'll
We
get
don't
it.
want to blow out.
I want a competitive game because 3 to 5 is not. Yes, it's close, but it's not competitive. That would be awful.
That's a baseball.
Yeah.
That's a baseball.
And
Go ahead.
just rest in peace to Toby Keith before we get out of here.
I think it was in the AFC Championship game back in the 70s where it ended 5-0. So hopefully we'll get some of that.
And also, rest in peace, Apollo Creed. I mean, Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to the actor that played Apollo Creed in the Rocky series, and Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore, if everybody remembers the name. He was on the Mandalorian TV show before he passed away.
Yep.
So anyway, thoughts and prayers.
You eat this shit for breakfast?
the loss, but until then, guys, everyone, please have a great weekend. We will see you back here next Thursday. Until then, I am the sports sir Bradley Walker. This has been the Walker Report. Peace.
And there's going to be no rematch either. Oh.
Cut, print, send it.